Hello everyone, I'm back and I'm really excited today because I get to film my top 5 and bottom 5 in terms of eyeshadow palettes. Now if you know me, you know that I love eyeshadow palettes almost as much as I love lipstick. So personally, eyeshadow palette top 5 and bottom 5 are one of my favorite videos to watch. So I thought today I would do my own top 5 and bottom 5. Now, in terms of this top 5 and bottom 5, I didn't do like my top 5 best ever, my top 5 worst ever eyeshadow palettes. I actually wanted to keep it within my collection today. So I didn't want to consider any of the eyeshadow palettes that like maybe I wish I would have bought and I didn't buy, not bought, or any of the eyeshadow palettes that I've returned back to Sephora or wherever I bought them. So I really only focused on my current collection. So nothing else outside of what I currently own. So I think let's get started with the top 5 eyeshadow palettes. Now I'm going to go through and show you each of the palettes and then just tell you a little bit about why they're my top 5 and why they're my bottom 5. So the first one I want to show you is this one here, which is the Tartelette Tease. So this palette you can get from Sephora. It's a cute little mini Tarte palette. This was actually my first Tarte palette as well. So you have 6 different shades, one shimmer, and then one that's sort of satin finish, and then 4 mattes. With this eyeshadow palette, this one actually holds a very special place in my heart because it is one of the eyeshadow palettes that I used on my wedding day. So I actually used, or my makeup artist used, not me, but my makeup artist used this darker purple just to sort of smoke out my eyes because I love purple and it's just really nice eyeshadow. So this one is, even though I really like it in terms of the quality, I think it's great quality. These mini Tarte palettes are fantastic quality. It just, like I said, holds a special place in my heart because I did use it on my wedding day. So this is definitely the first in my top 5. And I'm going to start with the top because when I watch these videos, I always like seeing the worst ones at the end. So let's do the top. So second one I have is the Too Faced Natural Eyes. Now I chose this one because even though actually they're coming out with a rebooted version of this, I'm not sure if I'm gonna purchase it. Apparently they've changed up some of the shades, but oh, there's no mirror. I guess I don't need to cover it. But I actually really like this palette. I find that it's just great for everyday wear. I love this kind of gold shade. Golds are my favorite, so I love this kind of gold shade. And I also love these transition shades that we have. So we have Nudie and Cashmere Bunny, and I just think they work so well for an everyday basis. So I really like this eyeshadow palette. The next one I have here is the Lorac Pro 3 palette. Now, I didn't really expect that this would be in my top eyeshadow palettes, but honestly, I just love the color selection in this for me because I have very fair, cool tone skin. I really like this cool taupe color as a transition. I think it works really well just on an everyday basis. So I wear this for work all the time just because I find the colors really work for me and my skin tone. I also really like the shimmers at the bottom, especially this pewter color and the rose bronze. I find them really natural enough that I could wear it to work, and but also just really beautiful. They blend out really easily, super fast, so I really like this palette, which is why it's in my top 5. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, personally, the colors really work. The next palette, actually the next 2 palettes are probably my top used palette. So the first is the Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar palette. This one, I didn't think I was gonna love it, but to be honest, I actually really use it a lot. Mainly because, and you may see a theme here, I really enjoy cool tone transition shades. So I find this color here, which is Mousse, as well as Caramel. I love those colors and I just use them all the time. I find they work for like every eye look for me and I just really enjoy them. I also like some of these shimmer shades here, Bonbon and Caramel. I love Peanut Butter just for something different. Some of the ones I don't use, like Pink Sugar, this glitter shadow. To be honest, I don't really like the glitter infused Too Faced shadows. They're just not my favorite. But for the most part, I get a lot of use out of this palette. I really enjoy it. And my top palette is the original Naked Urban Decay. I could not put it as my top palette. To be honest, I just used it for so many years. It's my first palette that I ever got. You can see I've hit pan on Naked. Love that transition shade. I just haven't found a palette that has a better gold, to be honest. I love Half Baked here, this gold shade in the middle. It is just so beautiful on the eyes. It's one of my favorite all-time shadows. Even though the quality isn't necessarily always the best in the naked palettes, like I don't find them as easy to blend out as some of my other palettes. They are very easy to work with still. You know, I don't like spending a lot of time blending, so they are still easy to work with. I find the quality is decent. It's great in terms of the color selection. It's sentimental to me, and I have a special place for it in my heart. I wish they had a few more mattes in this palette, but overall, I use this all the time. I know when I use it, I can get a great look. I feel very comfortable with it, so that's why it is my top palette. All right, let's go on to the 5 bottom palettes that I have, or the 5 worst palettes. So the first one is this Real Her #1 shadow palette, Be Your Own Kind of Beauty. I got this in a BoxyCharm palette, and even though the colors are pretty, to be honest, I just find they are very, very faint. It took a lot just to get them to show up. They're very sheer. Again, I don't like spending a whole lot of time on my eyeshadow. Like I'm, you know, the type of person I like to just put it on, blend it, and go. So I didn't love this palette, to be honest. I got this in a BoxyCharm. So even though I love BoxyCharm and I love getting palettes in BoxyCharm, this is not my favorite. The next one I have is kind of like a double hit. It's these 2 Makeup Forever Professional palettes. So I have the #3 palette, which is this one here, which is the colorful palette. And I also have the #1 palette here. Now, even though they're 2 palettes, I'm kind of cheating and putting them together. Even though, you know, the quality is decent, it's not bad quality necessarily. With this palette here, to be honest, I just never use the shades. I got it specifically because I wanted a colorful palette. But I just find, you know, I don't really reach for it just because it's only colorful colors. I wish there were some other colors in it that were a little bit more neutral, because I like doing, you know, a look with my entire palette. I don't like having to grab for like 2 different palettes just because, again, I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to putting on my eyeshadow, and that's a lot of work for me. So I just don't use it, which is why it's in my worst. This one, on the other hand, even though I like the shadows, I honestly find the shimmers to be a little bit chunky. Like, I find them difficult to work with. And there's not really a lot of true mattes in this. A lot of these ones are kind of like more of a satin finish, and they're still a little bit chunky, and it's just, honestly, it's just not my favorite. So that's why it's in the bottom. Love Makeup Forever, obviously. I think their products are amazing overall. Just these 2 shadow palettes didn't work for me. So I'd be interested in trying other ones and seeing how that goes. The next one I have, so #3, is this Revlon Eyes, Cheeks, and Lips palette. To be honest, I just found that the mattes in this palette really didn't work for me. You know, I don't use a whole lot of drugstore palettes, eyeshadow palettes. I use a lot of drugstore makeup, but just eyeshadow palettes for me, I find them, they can be, and maybe this is just me, but I honestly find a lot of them could be difficult to work with. So if you have any recommendations for really good drugstore eyeshadow palettes, let me know, because I'm definitely on the lookout. But for this one here, yeah, I just found that the mattes didn't work great. I don't like that there's lip colors within the eyeshadow palette, because the powder gets kind of in the lip colors, and I just don't think that's very nice. Even though they're pretty colors, it's just not wowing me. So that's why it's in my bottom. All right, 4th up, and this is a very controversial palette. I have the Anastasia, I can never say it, Anastasia Subculture palette. So I got this palette when it was on sale at Sephora because, honestly, I was just really interested in trying it out after everything that I heard on YouTube. That is, to be honest, the reason I got it. I just don't, for me personally, I don't love the color selection. It's not something that I gravitate towards, like the greens and the yellows. Like, it's not really my thing. So if we hadn't had all those very controversial reviews on YouTube, to be honest, I probably never would have bought this palette. But I wanted to try it out just to see what I thought personally of the formula. And what I think is a little bit complicated. I can get nice looks with this palette. Like, by no means isn't unusable for me. I also, you know, the powders, they definitely are powdery, but like, you know, I've used these eyeshadows and I'm certainly not hitting pan like the first time I used them. So I think some of the things that I've heard about this maybe are a little bit over exaggerated, but I can see where people are coming from, because to be honest, this palette is not easy to work with. Even though I can get pretty looks with it, I do have to spend a lot of time blending. And for me, that's just not really what I'm interested in. I want my palettes to be easy to use. You know, I'm not a makeup artist. I'm not an expert. I just do it for fun. So I don't want to spend like 10 minutes blending my eyeshadow out, to be honest with you. So that is the reason that this is in my bottom. But again, it's not unusable. Like, it is pretty. It's just not for me. And my bottom 5 palette, so number 5, is this Christmas in New York chocolate shop palette from Too Faced. This is from the 2016 Christmas collection. So we have these colors in here. The packaging is absolutely adorable. But the reason that this is in my bottom 5 is, number 1, you know, some of the shadows, they're just not the easiest to blend. Like, some of them are really nice, but then other ones, they don't really show up on your eye, and it's just not the same quality that I'm used to with Too Faced. The other reason it's on the bottom is honestly just because I was so excited for this collection. I thought it looked so cute. I was really, really excited for it to come, and then when it came, I was just like, I was honestly just really disappointed. So I tried to love it, which is why I didn't return it. I really did try to love it. I just don't. And it's not my favorite. So that's why it's in my bottom. Anyways, those are my top 5 and bottom 5 eyeshadow palettes from my current collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments if you have any favorites or any that you don't love. If you have any drugstore favorites, especially let me know, because I'd love to find some really good drugstore eyeshadow palettes. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really love that you came and joined me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!